Hello and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller, and today we're at the Packard Motor Company on Anaheim, and I have two guests with me today. I have the owner, Mr. Howard Bennett, and I have Michelle Bridges, who is chair of the Downtown Long Beach Walking Tour. Thank you for both joining us. I know this building was abandoned for many, many years. Whatever made you decide to take it over and do with it what you're doing?
Raw insanity.
Anything else?
Well, it was a dealership, and this is a beautiful building, and of course, it would have gotten tore down sooner or later, and it is a perfect house for these old cars.
This was built in 1926, and the style is Spanish Baroque. Michelle, give us some details about Spanish Baroque. I know it's curved instead of straight lines. It's flashy ornamentations. What else?
That's exactly correct, Harvey. One of the things you see with Spanish Baroque is a lot more elaboration in detail. As we look back over here on the behind side here, you see a lot of the detail in the columns, twisted columns. Your cornices have some detail. And of course, as Harvey said, there's more curvature and lines. Baroque also is a more theatrical type of a theme, and we see that play throughout here, the size of the building, the elaboration, and just the overall theme that we have carried through.
Okay. This originally was a showroom for Packard Motor Company.
Yes, it was.
And I see we have a Packard right here, probably what year?
That's a 1937 Packard.
And they went out of business?
In 1956, really.
And that
was the last real Packard.
They were comparable, were they not, in prestige and price to the Cadillac?
No, they were above Cadillac.
Oh, were they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. I noticed there are a lot of cars in here. Evidently, you restore them.
Yes, I've been in the restoration business since 1947.
How do you find all of these automobiles?
Well, I have a magnetic personality. They find me.
And how long does it take to restore a car?
Well, it depends on the individual automobile. You know, some of them you can do quickly because they're in very good condition. And some of them take a long time, a very long time. When you take a car completely apart by the nut and bolt, that means that you have to pay attention to those nuts and bolts going back. And there's well over 35,000 parts in each car. So if you look at that in a time application, you're looking at many, many hours. Each car represents a certain number of man-hours that required to do them. As much, it goes up to 10,000 man-hours in some cars.
The collection you have in here of the restored cars, these are all yours? These are your private collection?
No, some are, some aren't. Most of these cars we're looking at right here are here because I talk people into displaying their cars, because we need cars. I have a lot of cars, but they're unrestored, and we wouldn't want to, have people walk around those old rusty things.
So you're open so that the public can come in and look at these automobiles every day?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do here.
What would be the most unique automobile in the facility here?
Well, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by unique. If you mean rare, I have some rare cars out there, but each car sort of has its own personality. There's a beautiful 1931 12-cylinder Cadillac sitting there that's done exactly as it was. If it were sitting in the showroom in 1931 at a Cadillac dealership, that's how that car would look. Then there's an unrestored Cadillac sitting over there. It's a 1933 16-cylinder car. It's probably one of the best examples of unrestored cars you can find these days. And so each and everything sort of stands on its own.
Would you be hesitant to get in the Cadillac over there and drive cross-country in that one?
Not a bit. Give me about a week to get the thing shined up and straightened out, and we'd head off. Everything's done. The car's a new car.
I noticed back here, there behind the Buick here. Can we walk back? There's a wagon back there, and I want to ask you about. This is a beautiful Buick, by the way, right here. Now, is this an old water wagon here?
No, that's a fuel wagon. There's 3 separate compartments in there. And when this was built, it was meant to haul kerosene, lamp oil, and other petroleum products. And then at the turn of the century, when they started having a need for gas, it held, one of those tanks held gas. There are 3 spigots in the back, and I'll show you the buckets they used to carry into the individual houses for whatever they were going to do. And these are the buckets that they carry. And then back in here, there are 3 individual pipes that come from each of the tanks. And in here, they carry their equipment, you know, such as their funnels or whatever they needed. During this time, houses did not use fuel oil. You know, they were not oil-burning furnaces. But they did use oil for a lot of other things. And they had a need for lamp oil and things such as that.
Now, I'm assuming this was horse-drawn because I see a bale of hay up there.
Well,
and I don't
it is horse-drawn. This is a horse-drawn vehicle. But you have to remember that at the turn of the century, when automobiles started showing up, there was no fuel stations. The fuel stations didn't start showing up until 1908 or 1909. People bought their fuel from hardware stores and some drug stores. So and some automobiles burnt naphtha. You know.
Is that a type of gas?
Well, yeah, it's the same fuel that they use in like in Knott's Berry Farm to haul you around. You know those little boats? You smell that?
Yes.
That's naphtha.
Ah.
And they had that, and so I mean the history's rich.
Now, I understand you're going to open in the back a section where people can come in and watch the restoration of an automobile in progress?
Yes, we felt that that was kind of important. I think that the public has not been exposed to the history of automobiles, not in a proper manner. We could not be as mobile today if the people in the past had not, one, loved automobiles, demanded cars to be better, and when cars were done, then the good roads followed the construction of the cars. It wasn't the other way around. I mean, in the 30s, roads in the United States were bad, and we still had to build big automobiles to get over these roads. So all of that history is rich, you know, and some people my age, which not too many of us left, but remember that things weren't the way they are today, that 5 miles in the snow is true.
Let's walk back up there so we can see some of these automobiles. Now, the Ford that we're looking at right here, this looks like it's been absolutely completely restored from top to bottom.
Yes, it has.
And where did this come from?
Actually, this was part of the Hera collection in Reno, Nevada.
Oh.
And it has been completely done, and it's done very authentically. It's a very nice, authentic car.
Now, I noticed there was a sign on the floorboard there for sale.
Yes.
What would be the price range for something like this?
Well, cars like this can go as high as $25,000 without any problems, but this car is for sale at a much lower figure. $15,000, $18,000 would probably buy it. The owner does not want to keep the car. He can't keep the car.
Now, if you restored a car to this level here, would you ever be able to get the money out that you put in?
Not a bit. You wouldn't recover half your investment.
Because of time?
Well, everything's expensive. Everything costs money and time. And when you look at a car that you had to take particular care of everything, as you see here, that car has wood inside of it. That wood had to be replaced. Just the wood itself would probably take maybe 80 to 100 man-hours. So after you get down there and start clicking up those man-hours, all of a sudden that car gets expensive.
And I noticed that all of the cars in here, most of them are in really nice condition, and there's a wide variety of automobiles in here. So our people in Long Beach have something to look forward to come down here and see your museum and look at all these really neat automobiles that you've restored and are under restoration.
Well, that was the whole idea of it. The whole idea of it's to, you know, to see those thrilled little kids come in here and they never seen these things before. They don't understand them. and yet it's part of their history. I think it's not correct for us, we're all supposed to be in an instructive position in life. Adults are supposed to be teaching people things, themselves included. So here we've got children, 5, 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, just very inquisitive, never seen anything like this before. So it's our obligation to say, well, this is how great-grandfather got around. This is how he went from his farm. He drove his 7 miles into town on Saturday, took the kids with him so they could shop and get things. And this is the car he used.
I believe last year Long Beach Heritage awarded you a preservation certificate for your efforts in saving, restoring, and working on this building, did they not?
Yes, they did. I was quite thrilled about it. I have 7 awards such as that, you know, for the preservation of this building. I'm glad that someone is recognizing that. We are not doing that for that recognition, incidentally. Although all of us have an ego, and I probably have as big a one as anybody, this isn't an exercise in egotism. Mm-hmm. This is an exercise in preservation. This building needs to be put back and used the way it was intended when they built it.
And that's what we like about people like you who are preserving the significant historical resources here in the city. We've lost so many over the years that we can't afford to lose any more. Okay, don't go away. Long Beach Treasures will be right back. We're just going to go down the street to the Hancock Motors, so stay with us.
Over the coming months, Charter Communications of Long Beach will be offering Charter Pipeline, our high-speed internet data product. Recently, Pacific Bell has claimed that cable modem technology has speed and capacity problems. We have spent a considerable amount of money to ensure that such claims are and will always be false. Our technology is speed programmable, and our systems are built in such a way as to ensure that capacity problems are identified and it will be impossible to hog the web.
Welcome back. We're now at the Hancock Motor Building. With me is one of the owners, Steve Nang. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
I know this building had been vacant for quite a while before you took it over. What made you decide to take over the building? By the way, it's beautiful.
Well, one of the reasons why we decided to take on this project was we grew up on the street, you know, with the Cambodian community being on Anaheim Street. It's been vacant for quite some time. It's always been an eyesore to us. I've lived on this corner actually I've worked on this corner for the last 12 years. And it was a building which we knew a lot of history about. You know, one of the things and when we chose to expand, you know, one of the possibilities was, you know, either we can move out of the community or just stay within the community and just grow here. When this building became available, one of our first approach was to secure this building, purchase this property, and from there, you know, we underwent the restoration project.
What all have you done to restore the building?
So what have we done to restore the building?
Yes.
You know, when we bought this building, there was no ceiling, there was no roof. We had to do the seismic rehab on it. I have a bunch of photos we took during the restoration process. From redoing the electrical, the plumbing, the roofing, the interior, the exterior.
The chandeliers, are they new?
No, chandeliers are all original.
They are original?
Yes, the only thing that was original was pretty much the chandelier and the foundation we're standing on. Everything else, and some of the original plaster. This is all original. The wall, the machine, everything's original. But everything else had to be redone.
What other plans do you have for the building?
As of right now, we're going to restore the storefront glass back to the original composition, the way it was back in 1928, from glass from ceiling to floor. And then we're going to try to restore the exterior, some of the designs, some of the iron pieces up on the roof. We're going to try to restore that because it's been corroded throughout the years. There's a lot of damage on that. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a lot of money.
And then are you going to use this as a showroom?
We're going to use it as a showroom. We're going to use it as I have a meeting room upstairs. We're going to use as a community room to hold meetings for some of the business associations up and down the street. It's open to anybody, you know, who needs a meeting facility.
I understand that you also incorporated into the design a Cambodian mural that sort of gives us some of your cultural history.
Yes, we did.
Could we see it?
Sure. Follow us. This rise mural, based upon the some of the temples in Cambodia. This one right here is actually based off the Bayon Temple, located in I forgot the actual province in Cambodia. But this mural, with each pillar having 4 faces, okay, 1 on each side, and with this right here, we can see 3 of the faces.
Is that made of wood?
Actually, this is all plaster.
Oh.
Was it made here in the States or in Cambodia?
It was made here in the States. This was probably dates back to about it's not too old, maybe about 20 years or so.
I guess I forgot to ask you originally, because this is called the Hancock Motors.
Yes.
Why Hancock? What was Hancock Motors?
Hancock Motors is the original business that was in here in 1928 when this was a Hupmobile dealership. Hupmobile is, I believe, was the leading competitor to Rolls-Royce and Bentley, which the manufacturer went out of business during the Great Depression. It was one of the downfalls, and from there on, this building became, I believe, the Richardson Tires.
I remember when it was Richardson Tires.
Okay. Richardson
I bought some tires here.
Richardson Tires was a recapping outfit, which I believe started out in the mid-40s, went on up until about the 70s. Richardson Tires is probably by far the longest business that occupied this facility. They've occupied this facility for about 30 years or so. Every now and then, I'll get an old employee of Richardson Tires stroll on through, telling me more about the history of this building.
And I bet they can't believe the changes that have been made.
They can't believe the changes, and they also can't believe how original it is. They remember how the office was. They remember how the floors are. I have a bunch of photos, of it when it was Richardson Tires, or the showroom was occupied. To them, it brings tears to their eyes that something's actually, part of their past, part of their history was actually preserved. And they thank me for, being instrumental in doing so.
Oh, we thank you too for saving this building, because we're so pleased when somebody takes an interest and preserves historical resources here in the city. And so I know Long Beach Heritage last year gave you an award for your restoration,
yes,
and you certainly deserve it.
Thank you.
Let's walk back out in the lobby, Michelle, and you can tell us a little bit about the Art Deco. I know the, come on, Steve. I know the architect here was Schilling, of Schilling and Schilling. He also did the Blues Cafe down on the Promenade. He did the Art Theater on 4th and Cherry. And he also did the Lafayette Hotel on Broadway in Linden. Michelle, tell us a little bit about what Art Deco means and point out some of the things that make it Art Deco.
Thank you, Harvey. Well, Art Deco, as many know, was a style that began basically in the early 30s. And when it was started, it was a design that they wanted to have that was completely different from everything. It was opened at the, oh, I'm sorry, Harvey, do you remember? The International in Paris. And as you take a look around the walls here, you can see Art Deco being stated in its vertical and horizontal lines. You have a lot of geometric shapes. It's very smooth. As you take a look at the front entrance over here, you also have what we call jet d'eau, or a design that is found very prominently, especially in Art Deco, and it means the spray of water. As you look at that design, it looks like water is flowing. Again, it's very linear as well as very geometrical. The light fixtures also are original, as Steve pointed out, and you did say that there was not a ceiling to this, so were these in storage when you found this building?
They were just hanging there.
They were just hanging there. These are definitely very predominant, found in the Art Deco, and again, you can see the geometry and geometric shapes on the lighting.
And if you also look, you can see on the staircase, the railing there is very Art Deco. Okay, now we're upstairs here, and I noticed the walls. It's rough. Is this original?
Yes, that's the original texture that was raked in when this building was constructed. These right here are this one right here is the original, one of the original doors. It's mahogany with a dimple lead glass. those glasses are no longer available. So as you proceed throughout this building, some glasses might be broken, but we don't have a choice unless I want to replace everything.
You said you had a conference room up here.
Yes, we do.
Could we see that?
A little bit of a mess up.
Oh, this is your conference room, huh, Steve?
Yes, it is.
And it's used for what? Your work or for community activities?
Right now, we're using this room for community activities, to hold community meetings. We're also using it as a classroom for this industry. For as a part of my business, we train insurance adjusters, insurance personnel on how to properly repair cars back to its pre-loss condition. Classes in here are usually kept small, no larger than 14 students or so. As right now, I used to use this room because just here, it's a place I use personally to relax, to get away from everything else.
Is your primary business collision repair work?
Yes, it is. My primary business, collision repair, we do handle mechanical also. I'm one of the only facilities in downtown Long Beach that's approved by most insurance companies to actually restore most of the vehicle to its pre-loss condition without them having to come out and review the vehicle and re-inspect the vehicle for a second or third time. I'm well equipped, experience-wise. We're one of the largest facilities in downtown Long Beach, with over 36,000 square feet of working space. Makes me stand out a lot further than any one of my competitors.
Steve, I'm glad to see that you have Long Beach Heritage's Preservation Award hanging prominently here in your room. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's one of the awards. Is the award that was given to us by the Long Beach Heritage for our restoration to this building. It was given to us back in January. No,
It was February 1999.
February 21st, 1999.
Our annual banquet on the Queen Mary.
Annual banquet on the Queen Mary. This award was presented to me by Ruth Adler, the
Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Long Beach.
Yes.
Well, you did a great job. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with more Long Beach treasures.
What we're doing is doubling the bandwidth of our system, giving us twice the capacity we have now. It allows us to add new products such as digital, high-speed data, pictures crystal clear, and get CD quality sound. New products down the road could be interactive services as well. Picture-in-picture, where in one corner you could have your internet page up as well as watching TV at the same time.
On October 28th, the Historical Society of Long Beach gave its annual cemetery tour, where people are guided to grave sites where they get to learn about Long Beach history and meet some of the people that made it. For information, call 495-1210.
Welcome to the Historical Society's annual Historical Cemetery Tour. The Historical Society is a nonprofit organization with a gallery and archive in downtown Long Beach. We're in the process of developing a new space at the Breakers, and we work to preserve and promote the history of Long Beach. Today, right now, we are standing at Sunnyside Cemetery, and right next door is Municipal Cemetery. There's a chain-link fence dividing the two cemeteries. In 1905, the Municipal Cemetery next door was becoming full, and citizens decided there needed to be a proper burial place for people here in Long Beach, so they established the Long Beach Cemetery Association and established this cemetery as a private concern cemetery with perpetual care. The roads were named for trees and flowers, and the first burial was in 1907. This cemetery can hold 17,500 people, and there are 3,500 lots here. Many people who had their family members first buried in Wilmington had their family members reburied here at the Sunnyside Cemetery once it opened. In May of 1921, oil was discovered in Long Beach. And as you can see, there's a lot of oil activity around here. In 1922, family members of the cemetery arrived to discover that timbers for oil companies and oil derricks were being dragged across their family's plots right here at the cemetery. Well, action was quick, and
owners of cemetery plots were very upset, so they hired armed guards to guard the cemetery for 24 hours a day.
Well, hello, folks. Welcome. Some of you may not know me. I'm Mayor Ray R. Clark. I've been around for a while. I was born in Wisconsin in 1877 and moved to California in 1884 with my folks. As a young boy, I grew up on a ranch over there by Fullerton, Anaheim area. And I came to Long Beach in 1911, but like a fool, I didn't stay. I went across the channel into San Pedro, and I went into the drug business. Now, hang on there, folks. The drug business in my day is a little different from in your day. I was a druggist. I opened a drugstore. But Long Beach kept calling to me, and in 1914, I came back to Long Beach, and I opened a drugstore in 139 Pine Avenue. Business was good, and it kept growing, and I finally opened another store on 4th and Pine. And to show you how well I was doing, by 1920, my payroll was $20,000. That's quite a sum of money. I had time for civic and social duties also. I was director of the Chamber of Commerce. I was director of the Retail Merchants Association. I was an elk, Mason, and I also belonged to the Lions Club. I finally decided I might be able to do more, so I ran for city council. And I was elected to represent the 4th District. And in 1924, I was elected mayor of Long Beach. I only lasted a couple of years. It's not because I didn't do a good job, it's because I died. I had an embolism, and that cut my career short. But I guess I did a good job because it seemed like everybody came out to say goodbye to me. As I was laying down there in Motel's Chapel between 9 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon, I had over 3,000 people come by and say goodbye to me, and I had the Masons standing there with their Knight Templar uniforms and their swords at parade rest, and it was very impressive.
I'm William T.J. Bill Harris, and I came to Long Beach in 1921. I was actually born in Howe, Oklahoma in 1910. I really want to thank all of you to come out today because today is my birthday. I was born October 28th in 1910, so it was really very special of all of you to want to celebrate with me. I was the youngest of 3 boys, and as I say, my parents, Henry and Francis, moved to Long Beach. And when we first came to Long Beach in 1921, we lived over in the Terminal Island area, in a little area that was more or less like a tent city. As you could probably tell, I'm a proud graduate of Poly High School. Graduated class of 29. Anybody here from 29? Oh, okay. Just checking, just checking. At that time, while I was in high school, I delivered newspapers for the Long Beach Press. And in the summertime, of course, I was very lucky to get a job down at the beach, where I would escort a couple and rent them an umbrella. You see, the beach used to be pretty crowded in the summertime, and they would rent umbrellas for the couples. And while I was at Poly High School, one of my classmates, a gentleman by the name of Lindsey Armstrong Jones, had moved up here from Arizona, and he and I were in the band together. I played the trombone, and Spike, and I think he got that nickname because he was as skinny as a rail, he played the drums. And some of you may remember Spike Jones and his City Slickers back in the late 30s and 40s, made a pretty lucrative career selling records and making films, and I stayed friends with Spike all the way through his life. I was very lucky to be able to call him my friend, my good friend. As a matter of fact, he lived with us at our home. My parents took Spike in for 2 years while he was going to school at Poly High School.
I'm Harvey Keller with Long Beach Treasures. We'll be back next month with a new edition, so come back and take another walk through history with us as we discover more Long Beach treasures.